I think as any mother would be. She was absolutely over the moon. And actually we had quite an awkward situation because I knew, and I knew that William had asked my father, but I didn't know if my mother knew, so I came back.
It was not announced with a trumpet. There was no lavish royal broadcast or public celebration. However, the shock was swift and the message was deafening. Catherine, Princess of Wales, has just received a royal title reserved for the Queen Consort. What about Camilla? Her reaction behind closed doors was allegedly so explosive that aides had to exit the room. Initially, it was a little reference in a quiet line buried in the court circular, the official royal record of engagements and honors. However, within hours, royal observers and media outlets realized that Catherine had been bestowed a title that many thought to go to Queen Camilla. Whether it was Colonel-in-Chief of a historic regiment previously led by Queen Elizabeth, or patronage of a symbolic royal order, this was more than just an honor. It represented a transfer in power. A new royal reality was emerging, one that represented public opinion far more than the crown's inclinations. According to sources inside the palace, the choice was made with precision and pressure. King Charles was forced to choose between his allegiance to his wife and his developing admiration for his daughter-in-law. Finally, he bestowed the title on Catherine, the one princess who has remained scandal-free, unshakable, and highly respected. According to insiders, Camilla was caught off guard. And it wasn't only the title that hit home. The message was that the palace, the press, and the people now recognize Catherine as the true symbol of the monarchy's destiny. Not the current queen, but for the future. It wasn't simply about tradition. It was about optics, trust, and legacy. In a world where the monarchy's existence is dependent on popular support, Catherine has become its most valuable asset, along with Camilla, a contentious remnant from an era the firm is frantically attempting to put behind. For years, tensions between the two ladies had simmered in silence, but this moment, this symbolic changing of the guard, brought it all to light. The Queen can wear the crown, but the world now knows who actually commands the people's loyalty. And Camilla's reaction? It says everything. This is the story of the royal title that redrawn the boundaries inside the House of Windsor, and how Catherine discreetly stepped into a role that Camilla had assumed would always be hers. To really grasp the significance of the palace's decision, you must first understand the two women at its heart. Camilla Parker Bowles, now Queen Consort, and Catherine, Princess of Wales, whom many now regard as the monarchy's genuine future. Their stories couldn't be more dissimilar, but they've always been secretly linked, stalking each other in the royal spotlight, one rising while the other fought to maintain her position. Camilla's relationship with the crown has always been complicated and contentious. Her entrance into the royal fold was not warmly received, but rather brought into the spotlight through scandal. Her decades-long affair with Prince Charles, which took place while he was married to the beloved Princess Diana, cast a shadow that she has never quite escaped. For years, the world perceived her as the other woman, the homewrecker who caused Diana's fairy tale to end in grief. Camilla's road to acceptance was difficult, even after she married Charles in 2005. She avoided the spotlight, took on few public duties, and was frequently excluded from big ceremonial events. Camilla was only legally recognized as the future Queen Consort in the closing years of Queen Elizabeth II's reign, a choice that split many royal loyalists. Her title may have changed, but for millions, her image never really recovered. Then Catherine arrived. Catherine Middleton addressed royal life with calm discipline right from the start. She wasn't born into the nobility. She did not originate from a wealthy or noble family. She had time, something Camilla lacked. Years were spent learning the protocols, establishing a public image, and developing strong ties with the British people. She waited patiently for her position near William to be confirmed. When it was, she became the epitome of modern monarchy. There are no scandals, no mistakes. Catherine has never spoken out of turn, manipulated the media, or made an error in front of the cameras. She has raised 3 royal children, advocated for mental health, early childhood development, and addiction recovery causes, all while remaining out of the spotlight. The media adores her. She is well regarded by the people. Above all, the palace trusts her. While Camilla spent years acquiring grudging tolerance, Catherine secretly gained true admiration. Therein lies the tension. Insiders have long spoken about the underlying rivalry between the Queen Consort and the Princess of Wales. Never be overt, never become messy, but it's real. It's not just about personality, it's about position. Camilla may theoretically be higher in the hierarchy, but Catherine's public approval much outnumbers hers. Polls frequently indicate Catherine as one of the most beloved royals, second only to the late Queen and possibly on par with Princess Diana herself. Camilla, on the other hand, continues to fight for favor. Many consider her a relic of the past, the last reminder of the royal family's darkest episode. It's easy to envision how it would feel. Camilla had anticipated her position to be safe in recent years, especially after Queen Elizabeth died. As Queen Consort, she thought she'd finally walked out of Diana's shadow. Catherine's climb has been modest, steady, and inexorable. She does not participate in competitions. She isn't pushy. She simply comes up and captures hearts. And now that the palace has awarded Catherine a title that, by all accounts, should have gone to Camilla, the contrast between them has never been more glaring. One woman married into power and spent her entire life attempting to justify it. Despite not being given anything, the other achieved success. The firm's recent move confirms that the future of the monarchy resides with the Princess of Wales, not the Queen Consort. Camilla may have the crown today, but Catherine has the future. And, for the first time, the palace is not pretending otherwise. The process began with a subtle notation in the court circular. There was no news conference, no fanfare, and no photos of cheerful people. Just a brief entry reporting that Catherine, Princess of Wales, has been appointed Colonel-in-Chief of the Grenadier Guards, one of the British Army's most famous regiments, steeped in royal tradition and previously believed to go to Queen Camilla. The ordinary reader saw it as a ceremonial shuffle. But for those who grasped the importance of royal tradition, it was a watershed moment and a clear message about who the monarchy now saw as its most valuable female figurehead. The Grenadier Guards were historically associated with Prince Philip, who held the role for nearly 70 years. After his death, the job became symbolically accessible, and all eyes were on Camilla, now Queen Consort, as the likely successor. After all, the post has generally been reserved for senior royals, particularly those at the top of the monarchy. Previously, Camilla would have been automatically assigned to such a role, but that is not what occurred. In a private meeting weeks before the announcement, King Charles, palace officials, and senior military advisors reached an agreement. Catherine would be honored, not Camilla. And not for reasons of formality or preference, but because Catherine had gained the adoration and respect of both the military and the general public in ways Camilla had not. The king personally signed off on the decision, but people close to the matter indicate there was some controversy. Insiders said Camilla assumed the position was hers. She had already started planning for the uniform fittings, even setting up tentative dates for appearances with the guards. But then came the phone call, brief, chilly, and direct. Catherine had won the crown. There was wrath behind closed doors. Camilla's aides described her as visibly shaken, with a clipped and bitter tone. She had believed that, as queen consort, she had finally arrived at the height of royal power, but this decision reminded her and the world that the public face of the monarchy now belonged to someone else. The Grenadier Guards aren't simply a regiment, they're a symbol of strength, loyalty, and national pride. By giving Catherine the role, the palace had given her a piece of the royal history that she was never intended to have. Nevertheless, it fits nicely. Catherine had quietly attended military events, engaged with veteran communities, and been hailed by commanders for her genuine interest and devotion to the armed forces. Soldiers respected her, the press adored her, and the general public trusted her. Camilla, despite her rank, had never been able to form the same bond. This wasn't just about a uniform. It was about identity, the monarchy's future image, and who the firm saw as the finest woman to carry on the crown's legacy. Catherine didn't apply for the post. She simply earned it. In awarding it to her, the palace made it obvious that the old rules of seniority and formality were no longer relevant. It was the people who mattered now. The people had already made their choice. Behind the palace's immaculate facade, the marble floors, the pressed uniforms, the perfectly controlled smiles, the consequences were immediate, and Queen Camilla's reaction was nothing short of explosive. According to multiple palace aides, Camilla received confirmation of the decision during a closed-door meeting with one of King Charles's senior advisors. The moment she heard Catherine's name, not her own, her entire demeanor changed. One aide described it as a silence so sharp it cut the air in the room. Then the outburst occurred. "She stole what was mine," Camilla reportedly hissed, her voice trembling with disbelief and fury. For years she had played the long game, endured the whispers, tolerated being compared to Diana, and patiently waited for Charles to regain public favor. And now, just as she was beginning to feel secure in her role as queen consort, she was sidelined, again, by the woman who had always quietly threatened her position, Catherine. Camilla had noticed a shift in public sentiment, the praise Catherine received after each engagement, the way crowds leaned in just a little closer when she walked past, hashtags like #QueenCatherine trending on social media while #Camilla the Usurper lingered in comment sections years after her coronation. Camilla felt the walls closing in as Catherine was given a historical title that was profoundly connected to national pride, royal lineage, and the remembrance of Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip. She was livid, a longtime assistant confessed. Not in a theatrical way, she doesn't scream, but her eyes were icy. She said, "After everything I've done, they still treat me like I don't belong." Camilla was mortified. The Queen reportedly canceled 2 meetings that afternoon and refused to attend a scheduled function that evening, alleging fatigue and a prior commitment. Worse, King Charles did not contest the verdict. Camilla had anticipated her husband would reject any move that weakened her public status, but insiders say Charles remained coldly impartial, reportedly telling her, "It was the right decision for the family." That phrase, above all, is supposed to have crushed her. Not only had she lost the title, but also the king's defense. Later that evening, Camilla allegedly complained to a close friend over the phone, implying that the palace was engineering her downfall to pave the way for the next generation. "They want Catherine to wear the crown in all but name," she told sources. "And they want me gone before anyone notices." Camilla, according to those closest to her, has never felt more betrayed. She had long struggled to overcome the ghosts of Diana, the public's judgment, and the firm's cautious, reluctant acceptance. And now, just when she thought she'd made it, the rug was ripped again. It wasn't a title change. The power transfer exposed her frailty and reminded her that, although holding the title of queen, she was never the people's choice. And suddenly the palace was beginning to act like it. While Camilla raged behind the palace gates, Catherine remained cool, poised, and silent as usual. There was no victory lap, no smug smile for the cameras, and no statement from her office. When asked about her new title during a brief royal outing, she simply nodded and carried on. But those who know Catherine say she didn't need to say anything because this moment was about legacy, not noise. Catherine, unlike many who married into the royal line, never sought to be seen or heard. Instead, she perfected the art of strategic silence, allowing her actions, work, and poise to speak for themselves. According to royal insiders, Catherine spent months privately studying the expectations of her future role, speaking with former aides, historians, and even military personnel to understand what it meant to truly represent the crown. When William proposed to her, she didn't just become his fiancée, but she also became a student of the monarchy. And when she did ultimately walk into the spotlight, she did so with complete control. In the years that followed, Catherine would go on to redefine what a modern royal looked like, not through reinvention, but through authenticity. She brought elegance to charity work, warmth to hospital visits, and quiet strength to state affairs. She was never performative or political, and while others around her stumbled, leaked, or rebelled, Catherine remained a constant. Even during the saddest events, Meghan and Harry's departure, the Queen's death, Charles's contentious coronation, she stood firm, never openly criticizing or breaking ranks. Her devotion to the monarchy was not loud, but consistent. The palace took note. Behind closed doors, aides began to refer to her as the quiet queen in waiting. She had become the monarchy's safest pair of hands, a symbol of both stability and grace, qualities that the late Queen Elizabeth II was renowned for. These traits won her the title that is currently making news. The Colonel-in-Chief of the Grenadier Guards is not just a ceremonial position. It carries symbolic weight, a representation of the crown's strength, tradition, and military honor. Catherine had, over the years, built real trust within the armed forces. Her dedication to military families, sincere connection to servicemen and women, and consistent appearances at remembrance events had made her a natural choice. Camilla received no snub. It was a merit-based recognition. Catherine instilled respect via her presence, whilst Camilla demanded it through her position. According to a former courtier, Elizabeth II allegedly informed a confidant that she covertly encouraged Catherine's ascension. "She reminds me of myself, not in what she says, but in what she doesn't say." And that's what makes Catherine so powerful. She doesn't have to strive for prestige. The country gives it to her for free. Every wave, smile, and carefully worded remark supports the sense that she is more than just the Princess of Wales. She is the monarchy's moral center. And now, with this title, the palace has confirmed what millions have already suspected. Catherine did not marry into the royal family. She embodied it. As the title transfer became more widely known, the subtle tension within the palace blossomed into an obvious split, no longer whispered behind tapestries, but felt in every hallway of royal power. Camilla, once considered the unofficial queenmaker behind Charles's rise to the throne, now found herself increasingly isolated. Her usual allies within the senior household staff were reportedly caught in a storm of uncertainty, and some began shifting their loyalties, subtly but noticeably, towards the Princess of Wales. Others, long uncomfortable with Camilla's presence, now felt emboldened to say what they'd kept to themselves for years. She holds the title, but Catherine holds the crown's future. The king's position became especially delicate. He remained composed in public but was torn in private. Charles had fought for decades to make Camilla acceptable to the British public. He pushed for her acceptance and defended her against endless criticism. But now, even he couldn't deny the optics, or the overwhelming wave of public support for Catherine. Following the announcement of Catherine's appointment, polls showed a stunning shift. Over 70% of respondents supported her appointment, while Camilla's approval rating dropped by 15% in less than a week. Social media exploded with support for the Princess of Wales, with #Queen Catherine trending across platforms, often accompanied by throwback photos of her at royal events, standing beside the Queen, effortlessly dignified. Camilla's appearances, in contrast, were awkward, almost forced. At a recent engagement in the Midlands, she was hailed with polite claps, but nowhere near the passionate excitement Catherine had just days earlier at a children's hospice in London, where crowds sang her name. During a military event following the announcement, Prince William stood proudly beside Catherine in her new role, helping her adjust her ceremonial sash. The moment was brief, but profoundly symbolic. The future king and queen side by side, fully aligned in public and, increasingly, in power. However, not everyone in the royal family was satisfied. Despite her admiration for Catherine's work, Princess Anne, a traditionalist, was said to be irritated by the drama caused by the decision. Others, such as Prince Edward and Sophie, quietly supported Catherine's rise, seeing it as a necessary evolution for the monarchy's long-term survival. Behind closed doors, there were whispers of something even more serious, a looming internal restructure. According to one source close to the palace, King Charles had begun informal discussions about redistributing key patronages, ceremonial roles, and senior responsibilities to more trusted, future-oriented royals, namely William and Catherine. Camilla saw the monarchy's transformation as a creeping erasure. Her dread that the institution she had fought so hard to be welcomed by would finally push her out was no longer abstract. It was happening quietly, strategically, and without resistance. The crown was not facing a crisis. It was in a state of transition. And every new title, every subtle gesture, every happy crowd affirmed what had long been felt, but never stated. Catherine was not merely the Princess of Wales. She now represented the monarchy's future. Camilla was becoming an icon of the past. In the stately halls of royalty, change rarely announces itself with fanfare. It comes silently, with a gesture, a title, a shift in tone. But this time, the message could not have been clearer. Catherine, Princess of Wales, is no longer merely waiting in the wings. With the decision to award her one of the crown's most prestigious titles, a role expected to fall naturally to Queen Camilla, the palace did more than break protocol. It confirmed what the public had known for years. Catherine is the monarchy's true north. Steady, graceful, and unwavering, she has become the symbol of everything the royal family hopes to be in a modern age. Tradition without controversy, duty without spectacle, strength without arrogance. Although Camilla wore the crown on Coronation Day, Catherine is already queen in all but name, according to the public and the palace. And the people were the ones who crowned her. They did so not with ceremony, but with trust, loyalty, and the kind of silent devotion that the monarchy hasn't seen since the days of Queen Elizabeth, and before her, Diana. Catherine didn't fight for the spotlight. She earned it. And when the palace awarded her that historic title, it wasn't just rewarding service, it was acknowledging the inevitable. Camilla's legacy is at a crossroads, as the institution she once clawed her way into is gently moving beyond her, not with hate or scandal, but with elegance, and Catherine leading the way. The monarchy has always reflected current events, and now the mirror reflects a fresh image. This is not about rivalry, controversy, or old scars, but of a modern queen rising via silent force. The crown may still be on Charles's head. However, Catherine holds the key to its future.